Hello. Welcome. I'm not allowed to face on. All right. I hope anyone on the Google Meet can hear us. If you can't, message Tom, who's watching.
Well, they won't be able to hear this.
Well, they'll see me talking on the camera, and they'll
it's muted in Google Meet, so I feel like
no,
Turn the microphone
no,
on.
it's on this one. It's on the other.
As long as they can read
this one.
That laptop has the.
Hey, Nathan, just turn the microphone on.
I need. Do I have to? I have the other phone side.
Stop talking for a sec. Yeah, it's working.
It's working.
Like it's a little icon.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so that one is the one that's controlling things, and the other laptop is the host. So you have to deal with two laptops, Tom.
Perfect.
This is why we work together.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the next BrisPHP, number 3 for the year. We didn't quite get in 4, but the 4th one is the Brisbane Tech Drinks, which is happening 15. Thank you. So that's
the second meetup this week.
Yeah. all the tech meetups in Brisbane are getting together for just a tech Christmas party. So make sure you come along to that one.
Do you remember the venue?
Like that bar.
Thank you.
Sorry?
Do you remember what time it starts?
Sorry?
Do you remember what time it starts? Pretty sure it's like 6 p.m.
10 p.m.
Just for the drinks.
I think 6.
Yeah, good. Well, there's a event on our meetup page, so RSVP to that to represent BrisPHP, or you can RSVP to a different meetup if you don't like BrisPHP, but please like us. As usual, please also go to brisphp.com/pizza. We have more giveaways again tonight. We have a JetBrain voucher and 5 AWS vouchers as well. This is really good for us to harvest data because it makes you suggest a talk, and now we have like a big list of talk suggestions. So please suggest more talks, and also please offer to do a talk as well, because we have a big list of suggestions, but no one talking. So anyway, moving on from that. Tonight we have the usual what's new in PHP talk, and I know a few of you here might not be PHP folk, because our second talk is a panel discussion about observability. So you're in for a treat to hear about what's new in PHP, right up your alley. But anyway, I'll try and keep it short and sweet so we can get into pizza and get into the panel discussion afterwards. Oh, also, the quick housekeeping rules is toilets are around the corner there. Go down the hallway and it's on your right. Turn left, then right. Turn left, then right. There we go. Also, if there's a fire, I've been told to tell you, don't go this way. Go that way. Unless the fire is that way, and then disregard my previous comment. And also thank you to our sponsor foundU, who's hosting the event tonight. And I've also provided the pizzas who'll be here shortly, and to CreditSense for providing the beers. No, other way around. CreditSense to the pizzas, Fans to the beers. And also to ProcurePro, who provided myself and Tom
the most valuable asset.
the most valuable assets, yes. Speaking of which, ProcurePro is hiring senior engineers. If you're interested, hit me up. Can you get my slide for me, Tom? Alrighty, so there's only a few new things in PHP 8.2 recently, as it just recently hit feature freeze.
Do you want to not stand in front of the TV?
Not stand in front of the TV. So over here. Yeah, that's good. Good call. Good call. So one of the cool new things is they've added in, I don't know if anyone was following the type system, but recently they added in the intersection types and the union types. So you could have like either an and or an or symbol, but you couldn't have both because of like, there's weird complications with having both. And this disjunctive normal form is the way of solving that. And essentially it means if you've got an and an or type together, you have to put brackets around the and. And it can make it a little bit complex, as you can see when you come down to something like this. I don't know if anyone can actually see that, it's pretty small. This is invalid where you've got like brackets, like there's multiple ways you could potentially interpret it. So you have to like duplicate, you have to duplicate it like this. So you've got A or B and D or B and W or null.
So no nesting. The nesting is the problem.
Well, yeah, the brackets around the or is the problem. Because like, this is quite hard to comprehend. It's concise, but it's hard to comprehend when you expand it out and you say it's like it's B and D or B and W as like the type. So yeah, that was intentionally left out of both the previous RSCs, the one that introduced intersection and one that introduced union, because it's like kind of controversial and had a lot of people downvoting it. So this one got through, which is nice because then it gives you a better type system. Moving on. Also, being able to fetch enum properties in like a constant expression. So for example, I don't know if anyone's come across this. I come across it all the bloody time, where you're trying to instantiate the property in a class and you want its default value to be like an enum, particularly like the name of the enum instead of the actual enum itself. You can't actually do that because this is like running it's like an expression. So technically you can't do it until they made it possible to do it in PHP 8.2. So then you can use like your enum names in like a bunch of places where you couldn't before, like in a constant or in an attribute, in like a closure, things like that. Similar to when they made throwing exceptions like a single expression, so then you can throw exceptions in places we couldn't before, like in closures and stuff. Yes. Moving on. Also, now you can have constants in traits. Previously, anyone who hasn't used traits are kind of PHP's way of getting multiple inheritance. So you can define a trait, you can use it in multiple classes, and at runtime, it essentially copy pastes everything out of the trait into your class. So you define properties and methods in your trait, they just like become part of your class, and the trait doesn't really exist at runtime. Previously, you couldn't actually define a constant in the trait, so you had to do a workaround like this. So you've got your trait up here, and it relies on a constant that is not actually defined on it. The constant had to be defined on the class that used the trait, which is like super weird because then your trait is like leaking into this class, and if you use that trait on a class that doesn't define the constant, then it just like breaks. So it's not very fun. But if you skip ahead to the next slide, now you can define your constant on the trait. Ignore this little bit for now, it's a caveat. But now at runtime, this constant will get defined on your class because it uses the trait. The thing is, you have to use the constant by using the class name. You can't use the trait, that should say food trait, that's a typo. You can't use the constant on the food trait because again, it doesn't really exist at runtime. And then an extra weird thing, I actually didn't know this until I read the RSC about this the other night. If you define properties or constants on a trait, and then you use that trait in a class, you can actually redefine those constants and the properties as long as the value and the type and the visibility is the same. So if you copy paste it yourself into the class, then it's fine and doesn't care. But if you change one of those things, then it blows up, which is like a weird caveat, which I didn't understand why that's a thing, but it's a thing. So you can redefine it.
So take away, don't use traits.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Okay, so now I think I've gone in this meetup and previous meetups this year, I've gone over like all the new features that are coming out in PHP 8.2. And as you can see, the release schedule is going quite well. We've got the 6th release candidate out. The 7th will come out shortly, and that's the last one before we're fully live in December. So I hope everyone is on PHP 8.2 by December the 9th. That's the acceptable periods update. There is, I think I talked in a previous video, there is a couple of little breaking changes. Hopefully you're not using them, but given that PHP is 20 years old, you might. It's unfortunate. But yeah, the 8.2 release is pretty small. There's only a couple of kind of like nice to have features on it. And that people are saying that's largely because Nikita Popov, who was like a core developer of PHP, has like kind of moved on and is not really part of PHP anymore. So hopefully we get some more people in developing PHP for future. Do have one more feature to do. The very first feature for PHP 8.3 has been implemented as well. And it is a new function for JSON validate. I don't know if anyone's actually tried to validate JSON without decoding it before, but the only way you could actually do it was by like try to decode it and then like ignore the result of decoding it and check this like weird JSON last error function, which I hate using. So like in this way, it works, but it's kind of like not very memory. It's pretty memory intensive because you're actually decoding all the JSON and doing all the things when you don't really need to do that. So there was a bunch of workarounds like third-party libraries and stuff, and like re-implementing like JSON parsers, which is just like a kind of shitty idea, especially when PHP already has JSON validators. So now they expose it as this function, which just returns a bool and doesn't use memory and all sorts of stuff. So that'll be cool when it comes up.
I was watching the mailing list on this one, and there's quite a lot of poo-pooing this feature when the guy first suggested it. And he was like, I don't know how I'm going to implement it, but it just feels like a good idea. People were like, nah, it's horrible. It's stupid. It's, it's not that big a deal. Don't do it. And then slowly, after a lot of dialogue, there was enough support, and they're like, all right, I'm going to try to figure out how to actually code this now, how to make it work. And
there were a couple of RFCs that got voted down as well, like the new short closures that we have, but it's only like to be a single expression. They tried to make it multiple expressions again. There's like the 6th time they tried to do it, got like laid down again. You can lose a lot of time reading the PHP mailing list because you have like the two PHP camps. One is, yes, I want to progress the language. I want more type safety. I want to like copy to other languages and add all these new features and do these things. And then you've got the other side, which is like,
don't do anything.
I don't want
It's
anything.
feature complete.
PHP is finished. I don't want you to add anything. Stop changing my language. And those two tend to butt heads quite spectacularly. And yeah, I've lost a lot of time on the mailing list sometimes. Anyway, I think that is the end of my slides. Does anyone have any questions about what's new in PHP or comments on when you might be upgrading to the next version of PHP?
Well, you tell us.
One question to do with the constant you have described in the trait. So if that is actually private or protected, and you still cannot change that in your inherited like the classes.
Yeah. So the question was, if you have a private constant in the trait, can you access it in the class? And you can, because at runtime, that's copy pasted into the class. So it's still like it's private within the class still. So you can still access it within the class. You wouldn't be able to access it from children classes.
I remember you mentioned you can override that, right?
Yes, as long as you have the same visibility.
Oh.
Yeah, the same type of
So you can't change a private to be public.
No.
Yeah.
You can't change a public to be private either.
You just update the value. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So in a child class, technically you could use the trait again and redefine the const.
Ooh, what of that one? Maybe.
sounds useful.
Again, coming back to the
Yeah.
This guy's easy to read.
Sorry,
So if one of those 42 is 38, is that okay or not?
I think it's okay. I think, but you just can't change the. You can't
Wow,
change.
what's all he is?
Yeah, it's weird. It is weird to change a constant. I agree.
It's weird to use traits.
Kind of the point of constant traits. Yeah.
Is there an IRFC for abstract methods in traits? I'm asking for a friend.
James asking for a friend whether he can use abstract methods in traits.
Because then they're pretty much feature match interfaces and abstract classes. So
Maybe.
think about it.
I
Traits in
haven't seen
future.
anything about it. Traits, traits are a fun one because new features in traits tend to like switch the two camps of PHP. The people who don't want to change things are like, fuck yeah, give me more stuff with traits. And the people who want like more type safety and like Tom is like, no, I hate traits. Stop using traits.
We should remove traits.
Yeah, exactly. Why don't we just do C++ and have multiple inheritance properly? Anyway, that's all I have. The last slide, I think the pizza's not here yet, so I don't know if we should have a break or wait for the pizza to turn up
Yeah.
Be here in
before
10
we
minutes.
start. But after the pizzas, we'll have a panel discussion from Justin Hennessy and Damien McLennan and Ben Plunkett. They'll be talking about observability in production, how you can kind of keep track of errors and fix them and debug them and monitor your production servers, which is something I'm looking forward to, hence why I organized it, because I would like to observe my production. Anyway,
The talk doesn't start though until everyone sits in the front seats. So
Yeah, we all have to scooch forward and get cozy.
very good.
Anyway, we'll take a quick break now until the pizzas arrive, and then we'll jump into the panel after that.
Cool.